Well, Fred, it's a pleasure to be speaking with you today. 34 years at Wilfrid Laurier as the Dean of Students. That's an incredible accomplishment. Congratulations on that. And I'm anxious to see what kind of insight you have to share with us. It really is a pleasure, and thank you for taking time to share the answers to the following questions with us. Fred, I was wondering if you could describe your association with student services or student affairs. You know, things like your career involvement, kind of responsibilities that you've had while you've been in this position, and I guess that's been at Laurier for the entire time.
Well, Fran, yeah, when I arrived some 35 years ago, I was responding to an ad in an international magazine, and it was called Student Activities and Placement Services at this little Lutheran college in Waterloo, Ontario. I thought it was a real risk to come across the border and from good old Mountain State, but when I arrived, I was so thoroughly impressed with what I saw here of this little campus, and probably the best advice I ever received from anybody was the university president who hired me. Said that, you know, what our students need here is someone that they can always go to for support, somebody that can be trusted. I don't really care what you do in your first year at this university other than to develop trust with the student body. That is advice I would like to give anybody that wants to work with students. And my boss, or my immediate supervisor at the time, was very heavily involved in federal politics and school boards and community committees, and I had performed most of the duties that he was doing at the time. So aside from student activities and placement, which I really started on this campus, I was doing other things as well, the counseling, the housing, the everyday things in the office. And then when this fellow left the university in 1967, they appointed me automatically as Dean of Students. Thus, that's my association with CACUS, NASPA, and my philosophy has always been never to be out of sight or out of touch from the students, be with them always, be in their buildings, in their pubs, in the hallways with them, sporting events, social events, clubs, activities, wherever the students are. You know, I really tried to be, and my job description kind of was formed on whenever there was a need for something, jump in, just do it. And now the student services on this campus incorporate so many different areas similar to other universities, student life, health services, counseling, athletics, recreation, special needs, all those things. In spite of all this, I have tried to maintain my location to be in the student building, with the students, in the student union building, and I love it. And I would encourage student services people to stay close to students. Probably the worst part of giving up and leaving after these 35 years is the feeling of maybe I'm not going to be there when some student needs me, but hopefully somebody will take my place.
That's really a long time to be at one place and to see a lot of things happen. 34 years is quite a length of time and quite an accomplishment. You must have seen a lot of changes, both nationally, provincially, and then within Laurier itself and student services. I'm wondering if you could just reflect on a few of those changes and those involvements.
I don't know if I'm consistent with all universities in Ontario, but I think we're similar in many respects. I would say in the late 50s and the early 60s, we were more or less activities oriented. Campus social events, big name entertainers, that seemed to be the thing. Much more so than student governments and the political roles they were playing. Then we moved into the mid-60s, and we began to see political activism on most campuses. Parity for students, Students for a Democratic Society. We went through those years in the 60s. Then the 70s, we got into expansion of the student services, at least to most campuses. And the 80s, of course, we started looking for income initiatives to support or supplement our student services. And in a nutshell now, I'd say in the 90s, we're dealing with cutbacks government underfunding and tuition increases. But I guess I would say that, especially here at Laurier, politics in student government tends to be secondary to managing student unions as a business operation. And the focus seems to have turned to the provision of services and profit centers for students. And this direction certainly allows for more student autonomy, experience in responsible management, and even the creation of jobs on campus for students. I'd say these are good things, and I kind of like the direction we're taking.
Wow, that's a lot of change happening in a lot of years. I know from having worked with you over the last 5 years now that you yourself have a great number of accomplishments and highlights from your personal career, and I think this would be a great opportunity if you could share with us some of the personal highlights of Fred Nichols and his career.
Wow, 34 years. Certainly my arrival in Canada back in 1962 and the good advice I received when I arrived has certainly been a great asset to my job here, and certainly my role working with students. But I would say the development of our campus center in 1969 and then its expansion again in 1995 here, and I would say that we have probably one of the most comprehensive, well-organized student campus centers in the country, and I'm very proud of that. And the fact that I did have a role in the design, the arranging the fees, and a bit of the architectural work with that. I did see a need to get involved. As a matter of fact, our university felt it important to get people into the community. And it was kind of a chess game with the university president to put people that he felt appropriate to the community services, to put them into service clubs and community involvement. So through my years, I was very active in minor sports. At one time, president of minor hockey in Kitchener. I was in the Optimist Club, Kitchener-Waterloo Optimist Club, and also was president of that organization, which was working with young people in the community. Then the founding of Bacchus Canada in 1981, the alcohol awareness program that tends to have grown right across the country and become a very important thing. I'm very proud of that and where we are with Bacchus. More recently, in 1996, initiating an omnibus student service fee in cooperation with the students. It's through a protocol that many of us are familiar with. Our students here have chosen to share in the operating cost at a 50% level with the university in supporting the student services, so they could protect student services as it exists now for the students. I would say last year, 1996, the recognition by CACUS for being administration, getting that national award that's given to one person annually. I'm extremely proud of that. And most recent and probably most rewarding was the WLU Students' Dedication Day on April the 5th, when they spent a full day of tribute to me in my many years of service from all the organizations, administration, student groups across campus. And to top it off, that day they have placed my name on the campus center. This will now become the Fred Nichols Campus Center, and my family and I will be eternally grateful for that wonderful reward.
Well, I know that was a great honor, and I recognize that the students, faculty, and staff at Laurier really do appreciate that and are very, very pleased that they took the time to recognize you in that way and to keep everything you've done very much alive on this campus in every way. So from a personal note, it's very exciting that we were able to do that for you. You've given us a lot of examples of the highlights, and while I know that they're endless, I'm wondering if you could talk to us a little bit about how the experiences have shaped and influenced you in your career, in your home, in your family, in your life in general.
Wow. First of all, I would say that I have far exceeded any career expectations in my life since I left my mountain home so many years ago. And although I contribute my success, if it is such a thing, a lot of my success is to the roots of where I grew up before I came here. And I think that was so helpful in terms of personal relationships. I went to a small teaching college and had to deal with a lot of personal issues and personal relationships. I believe that was very helpful. And then my decision to immerse myself totally with students on this campus was most significant. Constantly being with students, being open and honest with them, and realizing that your life is an open book. You live in a glass house. And I think you're pretty well judged by your character, and certainly character development, by example, has always been a personal objective. I honestly believe we've developed a very mutual respect and trust between me and the student body, and that's the most critical thing to me is being there for students when they need somebody, and knowing that they had that trust in you.
I know that when I first came to work with you, you gave me some advice, and over the years, whether it's come out sitting around this exact table as suggestions or helping me work through some of my own problems in the field, you've always been there as far as a sound voice of reason, and I think this is an excellent opportunity to share with other members, perhaps new professionals, perhaps just friends of yours in the caucus group and nationally, some advice. So what advice would you give people entering the field and those of us who still hope to remain in the field and work hard throughout it?
I would say never forget to emphasize the word student when you're talking about student services. Don't underestimate what can be learned from students or the influence that they have on university decision making. Be honest and fair. But probably most of all is to consistently be an advocate for the betterment of student life and know that you are and should continue to be a positive influence on higher education in general.
Well, that's great advice, Fred. I think I'll take that to heart and always have. You know, it's fun reminiscing with you in this respect, and I know that we've been doing it for quite some time, it feels like. But there's just so much to learn in the field and to grow and to build on that it's important to know where we've been. So since we know where we've been now and worked with you on that, I'm wondering if you could share any future projections that you may see for student affairs and services in Canada, short-term, long-term, whatever you're comfortable with.
I don't know. Things change. Things change so fast. It's almost like computers, the way things change around here. But I believe that we in student services will continually be targeted as government funding decreases. I think academics will always come first. So I think we have to build strong partnerships with the students for support of our essential student services. I believe, and it's a scary thought, that one day tuitions will escalate as institutions adopt a user pay philosophy. And we may, at some time in the not too distant future, find ourselves very similar to a lot of the schools in the United States paying exorbitant tuition fees because of government initiatives, government deregulation. That worries me, but I know that's a great worry of the students as well. I also worry a bit about privatizing of student services. Certainly, I think that's being strongly considered in areas of housing, food services, health, career services, and privatizing could lead to a lot of things in terms of even management of universities in general. I think our jobs, many of the jobs in student services are now becoming and will become more so contract positions. I think that makes job security a concern. But regardless of all these things, so-called obstacles, I think we will survive. I think we will thrive with perhaps closer partnerships with students. You know, after all, I think we represent a good portion of the total education of students. I would say just stay positive, focus on the end product, you know, walk through the challenges with the students, and just do your best for student life.
Well, I feel like I've just shared with everybody our own hidden treasure here at Laurier. Fred Nichols, 34 years, retiring July 1 officially, 1997. Fred, you've accomplished a great many things. The list is endless, and I want to commend you and thank you for that as a student at one time here, and now as your staff member and a friend. And you're a very, very important man on the pioneering end of student services. Thanks for taking so much time to talk to us about these things and help us document the important things in the development of this. And congratulations on those fine accomplishments. I know that Fred will be staying around the university doing some work in alumni development, which seems to be pretty natural in the offshoot from student services. So I know you won't be leaving us in that respect, and we look forward to your influences. I'm not sure if there's anything else you want to add at this point, because I know that's putting you on the spot.
Well, I think it's a give and take thing. I think this university has allowed me, as I said earlier, to achieve much more than my expectations ever. You know, I have had so much support from staff, faculty, students. Every time it seems like I look good in the eyes of some students, it's because somebody else in a higher position has allowed me to make some decision or something beneficial to students. So I think I have taken as much as I've given, and I don't want to go. You know, I wish I could stay forever, but somebody else now gets an opportunity to work with a fantastic group of students and a fantastic university.
Right.
And I thank you.
Well, that's great. I guess this brings us to our end of our interview and sharing all this great knowledge that we've hid away at Wilfrid Laurier University for the last 34 years. And we look forward to being at caucus, and Fred will be there this year as well. And thanks, Donna, very much for taking the opportunity to put together the grant to allow us to document these important parts in Canadian history for student services.